The conference room smelled like expensive coffee and nervous sweat. I sat near the end of the long glass table while the projector hummed softly. Victor Lang stood at the front like a man who owned the entire building. Behind him, the first slide appeared on the screen. My slide. The exact tagline I had written at 2 in the morning while Lily slept across my lap on the couch. Victor cleared his throat proudly. This campaign, he said, spreading his arms, was my vision from the very beginning. Several clients leaned forward with interest. The emotional story, the viral twist, the timing of the launch, it all came from me. My stomach tightened. I stared at the screen while applause filled the room. Victor glanced at me for half a second. The small smirk on his face told me everything. Stay quiet. My name is Brooke Ellis. And that was the exact moment I decided Victor Lang would never erase me again. But I smiled politely, because the long game had just begun. Back at my desk, the office noise sounded distant, like I was underwater. Phones rang. Keyboards clicked. People laughed near the coffee machine. But my focus stayed on my laptop screen. I opened the campaign's original project folder. Every file appeared exactly where I had saved it months ago. Drafts, notes, concept sketches. The metadata still showed my name. Each version had a timestamp showing when it had been created. Proof. My heart beat faster as I plugged a small flash drive into the laptop. Quietly, I copied the entire folder. Victor walked past holding his coffee. Great meeting, Brooke, he said casually. Team effort, right? I forced a calm smile. Of course. He laughed and kept walking. Inside, anger burned through me like fire. But Victor didn't know something important. While he celebrated, I had already started protecting the truth. That night, Lily sat cross-legged on her bed brushing her doll's hair. Her room smelled like crayons and strawberry shampoo. Mommy, why do you look sad? She asked. I'm just tired, I said softly. Big project at work. She hugged me tightly. You're the best at making things pretty. My chest tightened. This job paid for her school, her books, her future. Losing it could mean starting over again in the tiny apartment we once lived in. The one with the leaking ceiling and broken heater. I kissed her forehead and tucked the blanket around her shoulders. After she fell asleep, I sat quietly beside the bed. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted the truth to exist somewhere. And somehow, without destroying everything, I promised myself I would find a way to make it seen. 2 weeks later, I volunteered for a task nobody wanted. Organizing the agency's shared digital drive. It sounded boring, which was exactly why no one questioned it. Late Friday afternoon, the office slowly emptied. People grabbed their bags and wished each other a good weekend. I stayed behind. The office lights dimmed while the cleaning crew moved quietly through the hallways. One by one, I opened old folders connected to our campaign. Email chains appeared on the screen. Victor's messages repeated the same requests again and again. Brooke, send me your idea. Brooke, what was that tagline again? Brooke, can you draft the emotional concept? My fingers moved carefully as I forwarded the messages to a private account. Evidence. The next morning, Kyle Bennett stood in the kitchen bragging loudly. Vic and I crushed that campaign, he said proudly. Vic and I. I stirred my tea slowly and smiled. Inside, something colder than anger settled in my chest. Later that afternoon, I found Rachel near the copy machine. She was the quiet administrative assistant who seemed to know every secret in the building. Rachel, I said softly, can I ask you something? She glanced around before nodding. Have you ever noticed Victor taking credit for other people's work? Rachel stared at me for a long moment. Then she leaned closer. You're not the first, she whispered. My heart skipped. How many? I asked. A few, she said quietly. Mostly women who left the company. She paused before adding something else. But if the truth ever comes out, I'll say what I saw. There was no anger in her voice. Only calm honesty. As I walked back to my desk, something shifted inside my chest. For the first time since the meeting, I didn't feel powerless anymore. 3 days later, Victor called me into his office. Brooke, he said cheerfully, I need you to rework the follow-up presentation. Make it pop. What about Kyle? I asked. Victor waved his hand. He's busy. I nodded and accepted the task. That evening the office grew quiet as everyone left. I stayed behind again, rebuilding the presentation slide by slide. But this time I added invisible comments inside the document. Notes about the original ideas. Early drafts. My development process. Anyone who checked the file history would see exactly who created everything. Victor thought I was simply working late for him again. He had no idea I was building the strongest paper trail of my career right under his nose. The agency holiday party arrived a few weeks later. Music filled the room while glasses clinked under bright lights. Victor stood near the center, giving a short speech. To the amazing team, he said while raising his glass. But his smile lingered longest when he looked at Kyle. I stood near the window holding sparkling water. The CEO approached me with a friendly smile. Victor speaks highly of your support work, he said.
Support work.
I nodded politely and thanked him. Inside, something went very still. That single phrase told me exactly how invisible I had become. To them, I was just the person behind the scenes. But one day soon, that silence would end. That night, I started keeping a private journal on my phone. Password protected. Every moment went inside it. Dates, conversations, witnesses. Victor told the client the color palette was his idea. In truth, I had chosen it because it matched Lily's favorite blanket. Writing the details hurt, but it also gave me control. Each entry felt like adding another brick to a wall of truth. I wasn't collecting these things to destroy anyone. I was collecting them so the story could never be rewritten again. Because one day someone would ask what really happened. And when that moment came, I wanted the answer to be undeniable. A month later, we held another important client call. Kyle led the presentation while Victor watched proudly. Halfway through, Kyle quoted the wrong numbers. The client looked confused. Victor quickly jumped in. What Kyle means is... He corrected the mistake smoothly and continued. After the call ended, everyone acted like nothing happened. But my phone had quietly recorded the entire meeting. Illinois allowed one-party recording consent. I had checked carefully before doing it. Later I heard Victor laughing in the hallway. We nailed it, he told Kyle. Kyle grinned proudly. From my desk, I watched silently. Their confidence was impressive. But their arrogance was becoming the strongest evidence I had. 6 weeks later, the agency gathered for a big announcement. Our campaign has been nominated for Campaign of the Year at the Chicago Advertising Awards, the director said proudly. Cheers filled the office. Victor stepped forward quickly. I'll accept the award if we win, he joked. Someone has to represent the team. Everyone laughed. My stomach tightened again. That night, after Lily fell asleep, I opened my laptop and updated my resume carefully. Then I applied to 3 agencies I had always dreamed of working for. I didn't know what the future held. But if speaking the truth cost me my job, I wanted another path ready. Over the next few weeks, Victor began publicly mentoring Kyle. Watch and learn, he told the team during meetings. At the same time, he quietly gave me more work than ever before. I accepted every task without complaint. Each new project gave me more emails, more timestamps, more proof. Late one night, Rachel sent me a message. Be careful, she wrote. Victor just told the CEO the campaign was entirely his idea. My heart raced. He was preparing his story, which meant the moment when the truth mattered most was getting closer. Rachel and I met for coffee one Saturday morning. Not near the office. Somewhere quiet. She slid a flash drive across the table. What's this? I asked. 3 years of similar situations, she said. Inside were records of other campaigns. Other employees. The same pattern repeated again and again. Victor taking credit while others slowly disappeared from the company. They all left, Rachel said softly. I stared at the files in silence. Until that moment, I thought the fight was only mine. Now I understood something bigger. If I stayed silent, the same story would happen again to someone else. Life outside work didn't slow down. Lily caught strep throat and missed several days of school. Doctor visits and medicine bills piled up quickly. At night, I checked her temperature while answering emails from my phone. One evening at 11, Victor sent another message. Need new concepts by morning. Kyle's overloaded. I stared at the screen before replying. The finished file attached with a polite, smiley face. Inside the document properties, my name and timestamp were recorded clearly. Victor never paid attention to those details. But someday someone else might. December arrived, and the company sent out bonus emails. Kyle received a large one for campaign leadership. Mine was average. I stared at the message until the words blurred together. Then I closed my laptop and walked quietly into Lily's room. She slept peacefully under her bright pink blanket. I hugged her gently. Hold the line, I whispered to myself. The moment would come. All I needed was patience. 3 months later, Victor announced he had been nominated for partner in the agency. And the campaign he claimed as his own was the main reason. A board meeting with investors would decide everything in April. When I heard the date, my pulse quickened. That meeting would gather every important person in one room. Every lunch break after that, I rehearsed the calm words I might say if anyone asked about the campaign. The truth didn't need anger. It only needed clarity. One afternoon, Kyle cornered me in the copy room. You've been quiet lately, he said carefully. Just busy, I replied. Everything okay? Never better, I said calmly. He left looking uneasy. For the first time, I sensed something different in the office air. Victor and Kyle could feel something shifting around them. They just couldn't. He studied my face. See what it was yet. That week, I finished my own presentation. It was simple and clear. Slides showing the full timeline of the campaign. My drafts. My emails. My timestamps. Rachel had also written a short statement confirming what she had seen. I saved everything on a USB drive shaped like a lipstick tube. It fit easily inside my purse. No one would ever suspect it. The truth was ready. Now it only needed the right moment to appear. Then everything changed. The board meeting was suddenly postponed. Victor sent an email saying he had a family emergency. My plan vanished overnight. I sat at the kitchen table staring at the screen. Lily looked up from her homework. Are you getting a promotion soon? She asked. Maybe, I said quietly. Later that evening, another message arrived. The Chicago Advertising Awards Gala would now be the celebration event. Victor would accept the trophy there if we won. New stage. New audience. New opportunity. At the planning meeting, Victor looked toward me casually. Brooke, you'll handle the slideshow for my acceptance speech. People laughed. Make me look good, he added. Of course, I replied. While building the slides later that week, I added something new. Behind the presentation sat my hidden proof deck. One click would reveal everything. Victor thought he was asking me to support him again. In reality, he had just invited the truth onto the stage with him. 2 days before the gala, HR called me in for a meeting. Kyle had reported that I seemed unhappy. My supervisor studied me carefully. Are you satisfied here, Brooke? He asked. I've never been more committed to the truth, I replied calmly. He frowned slightly, but nodded. When I left the room, I knew one thing for sure. They were watching me now, which meant my timing had to be perfect. The next morning, Lily's school called. Her tuition payment was late because of the medical bills. I sat in the office bathroom and cried quietly for a few minutes. Then I washed my face and returned to my desk. The final version of my hidden presentation waited safely on the USB drive. Only 1 week remained before the gala. I felt terrified, but also strangely calm. The truth was ready to stand on its own. The night before the gala, Victor stopped me in the hallway. You've been solid, Brooke, he said. After the awards, we'll talk about that raise. His hand rested on my shoulder. Thank you, I replied politely. That evening, Lily hugged me goodnight and asked if tomorrow would be exciting. It might be, I said softly. Victor believed he was rewarding my loyalty. But the real reward would arrive when the truth finally spoke for itself. The gala ballroom glittered with chandeliers and cameras. When our campaign won Campaign of the Year, Victor walked proudly onto the stage. The host smiled. And let's also invite a key team member, Brooke Ellis. Applause filled the room. Victor's smile flickered slightly when I stepped beside him. He began thanking the team. I leaned toward the microphone. Actually, I said calmly, everyone might appreciate seeing the original timeline. Then I clicked the remote. My slides appeared behind him. My name, my drafts, my emails, my timestamps. The ballroom fell completely silent. Victor's face turned pale. Clients shifted in their chairs. The CEO slowly stood up. Rachel stepped forward from the crowd. It's true, she said quietly. Victor tried to laugh it off. Creative differences, he said weakly. But the proof behind him told a different story. By the next morning, the board placed him on leave while they investigated. Kyle's bonus disappeared. The agency released a statement correcting the campaign credits. Victor's path to partner vanished overnight. The truth had simply waited for the right moment to be heard. A week later, the agency offered me Victor's role. I thanked them sincerely, but declined. Instead, I used the strong client references I had quietly earned to start my own small business from home. Ellis Creative. 6 months later, we signed our first six-figure client. Lily proudly told everyone her mom made the prettiest ads in the world. Victor never contacted me again. He didn't need to. His own choices had already ended his career there. As for me, I learned something powerful. Know your worth. Document the truth. And when the moment that truly matters finally arrives,
speak.